What is up, family? God is good. You better be giving him all the praise. We got a special show for you today. My friend Gavin Mehl, who I met, how long was it ago, Gavin? Like six
Summertime.
months? Summertime? Gavin had been following the channel for a while, and he's actually the only male. It's funny, his name is Gavin Mehl. He's the only male who has reached out to me about forgiveness. Everyone else that's done it has been female, and we really need the males to reach out about this forgiveness. I brought Gavin on to talk about the Live Life claim today, but before we get into all that, I wanted Gavin to Gavin, can you just share your experience about forgiveness and how that affected impacted your life?
Yeah, I watched one of Whitley's videos about the forgiveness, and it really resonated with me one day. I thought, I wonder if I have some anger that I'm harboring from like a long time ago. I was like, I don't think so, but maybe. And he made that point about it. And I was like, I'm like, I want to be the best I could be, constant, never-ending improvement. The Tony Robbins mentality. I've had that for just drilled that into me. So I was like, if there's something I can do to improve it, I want to just dig it out. So I went back, I contacted you, we set up a meeting, we went through all the things, and we determined that in my case, I had to go and forgive my mom for
Mhm.
past trauma of just emotional trauma stuff that
At, at the
I've
beginning,
long
you didn't
forgotten
realize that it was there, right?
and realized was there.
It's so
I,
funny how it can be hidden and buried and put on the back burner. You don't even know that you need to forgive your mom. And then when you start to wake up and realize, I'm like, oh, wow, she did do that and that and that. Um, and it's amazing how you just can't even see it because it happens to you when you're a child and you're not, developed enough to process that information and to see what's going on because you're so innocent. And it's amazing how you could go and be a full grown man. I was 37 years old when I found out that I needed to forgive my mom. So you guys watching, you need to just do what Gavin did and message me. I'll put all my contact info in the description box below. Message me and just see maybe if you do need to forgive. Tell me what what was that process for you? What did you do? Obviously, I gave you my suggestions, but how did you forgive your mom? And then tell us how things changed for you after that.
okay, the process was like this. I text messaged her. I said, I've got something important to talk to you about.
Mm-hmm.
Set up a meeting, went over there, and had a little bit of small talk, sat down. I said, I've got to talk to you about something really important. I need your full attention. And sat down. She was worried about it. And I said, I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm not saying you did anything wrong, but I just need to forgive you for a few things and go over it. So I did a recording. I recorded the audio just so I just felt comfortable about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we kind of cleared the air with the accusing. And then I started doing my things. I started listing things I had written some things down I wanted to forgive her for. And then she ended up doing the same for me, started forgiving me for things. And so it was back and forth. And it was a great hug out session afterwards. The result as to what happened, I felt damn good. It definitely released some of the tension
Mm-hmm.
and maybe some unharnessed, hidden, like totally invisible anger that you would
Mm-hmm.
never see or admit to. But I felt like it did like release that. And it helped to free me up to excelling to greater things. Like I've leveled up like and leveled up and leveled up exponentially. I can't say if it's from that, but the way I look at it is if it helped fuel my success, I want to keep doing it. So it was just one little gear that helped me get into a higher gear in life to
Absolutely.
excel.
Absolutely. Because unforgiveness holds people back. And there's certain, certain people are very successful, which you were already very successful from what I understand. And even somebody like you who was already very successful was being held back by unforgiveness, by harboring pain and trauma from your childhood. And when you forgive and you release it, it opens a door to your full potential. It's amazing how forgiveness is freedom, and everybody needs to forgive. I mean, probably if I were to survey 1,000,000 people, 9,999,997 of them need to forgive. It's very rare that somebody doesn't need to forgive. But that's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that that worked out for you. Hopefully somebody watching this video today reaches out to me. Hopefully several of you do. You reach out to me and we can get this thing figured out so we can free you up to achieving your full potential and getting that 4-bar connection to God that you can only get through entering into a state of forgiveness, because Jesus did say that if you don't forgive, then God won't forgive you. And that is not a boat that you want to be riding in. That boat's going to sink. So forgiveness is freedom, y'all. Hit me up and we'll get it figured out. Don't be shy. Even if you're not sure about it, like Gavin was, he didn't know. He's like, maybe I do need to forgive. And it turned out that he did, and he's seen amazing results from it since then.
Highly
Awesome.
recommended. It's definitely amazing. It was just one unleashing a hidden gear, just
Mhm.
lock that clicked it into a higher speed of a dimension that I would have never seen. I would have never figured that one out had it wasn't me for you. So
You
thank you.
can't, like, I would have never figured it out if it wasn't brought to my attention and I didn't do a session like you and I had. Um, and it's an eye opener. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. But if you can't see it, then you can't see it. It's going to stay there with you for the rest of your life and hold you back, make you emotional, keep you from being as successful as you can be. And most importantly, and the worst thing it's going to do is it's going to keep you disconnected from God. That is not where we want to be. So Gavin, how did you find my channel to begin with?
I found it from following Russell J. Gould.
Okay, so you saw some of my interviews that I did with him?
Yeah, I've been following Russell for some time, just keeping tabs on what he's been up to.
Mm-hmm.
And you did a couple interviews with him, so when you did those, I watched them.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, I haven't done one with him for a while. Last time I emailed him, I didn't get a response back, but I'm sure he's getting thousands of emails left and right. So the good thing about being in a state of forgiveness is you don't get your feelings hurt. So that's awesome. And so I'm like, yeah, he must be busy, whatever. So maybe I can get him back on. But I got the next best thing. My boy Gavin Mehl here. He knows all about the live life claim. And uh how did you find out about it? What made you want to pursue it?
All right, that's a good question, Whitley. So 2019, so I was doing full time making YouTube videos from probably 2015 till about 2019, even
Are you
2020.
still making YouTube videos?
I still am, not as like daily like I was, but I'm still going to continue on doing it. But
What
here's
is
what
your
happened.
channel so people can find you if they want
Oh,
to?
it's Gavin Mehl, GavinMehl.
Okay, so that's his name in the corner there. You could pop his name in the search engine and find his channel.
A lot of health and fitness, personal growth, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I realized that when I was doing it, I designed the channel around I realized that if I could help, actually a lot of it was training myself when I was trying to help others, like retraining myself on a lot of things I'd learned, and it helped. But what happened is that I got sued in 2019. I got sued, and so that really put a wrench in things. And it was pulling something. You get sued really bad, and I wasn't prepared as like I wanted to be, and I was willing to lose a lot, and it was very upsetting. So I had to start learning, and I had bad experiences with attorneys and law firms before, and losing money and getting ripped off. And so I was like, I got to figure out how to do this. So one of the steps in my law education, which is all self-taught, the Abraham Lincoln way, was just diving into all the David Wynn Miller stuff, and then coming into Russell J. Gould, which is the correct sentence structure, communications, parsec, syntax, grammar, performance, which is what has to do with the live life claim. Mm-hmm. Now, looking in hindsight, I'm realizing that, wow, I guess we were a little bit early, they have in time, like in the phases of like companies, or there'll be different stages. There's innovators. Innovators are the guys that are like way early. Like, oh my gosh, it's only 2 cents right now. You bought Coca-Cola at 2 cents. Well, that's great. It didn't make any money forever because it just took forever to go up or whatever. But then there's like the other guys that are coming in at the next phase. They're innovators, and it's like they're taking initiative. They're a little bit more of a risk taker. Then there's like these later guys that are coming in at a high risk level. They're buying high. They always buy high. They never buy low, and they sell high. So, I'm usually on the trend of that innovator, which is kind of that weird fringe of society. People would say, that's weird. That's totally odd. It's strange. But taking risks is sometimes strange, but tends to pay off, I believe.
Yep.
So to go into your question, how I discovered, so I got sued, and that was one of the processes. So I ended up doing at the time, I really called it a live life claim. I figured out how to do it from a group called You Are Law. We have a YouTube channel that I learned a lot from those guys, and I got a premium member. I started getting discovery on it, finding it, educating myself on how to do it. I hadn't had any way, or really, I found out who Russell was, but I didn't. The War Castles documentary hadn't been out yet, so I was kind of like still trying to read a lot of information. I saw some old interviews that he was silent for a long time, but it all looked pretty credible. So I was like, I'm willing to take the chance. I did the lifetime. Nothing really happened when I first did it. I was just like, I was like, I didn't know. I actually did it all wrong, to be honest.
Oh.
So I did it wrong. And that was in 2019. So then Russell came forward he started coming forward with the War Castles documentaries. And so you could see his story there for, if you want to really watch it, that's a great way to get informed. But he's the one that captured the flag in 1999 when the country was being taken over by the Brits, and logged it in with the UN, and it was logged in what's called the now space. So when you say
the company, you're talking about the United States of America Incorporated, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Which is different from the United States of America. There's two separate entities. One is a republic, one is a corporation, if I understand it correctly. And the corporation took over. Okay. Say that again.
Okay, in law it would be considered de jure. That's de jure is the common law republic prior to like what the Declaration of Independence was founded on. That's the de jure government. It's actually dormant, doesn't exist right now. But then there's the de facto government, which is the corporate structure from 1871.
Gotcha. So is that's the year that it transitioned from the de jure to the de facto?
That's correct.
And how did they pull that one off?
That's a tough question to answer, my friend. That's a
all right, we'll get into that one on another date. I think everybody that follows this channel is pretty familiar with that situation. Anyway, we know that there was a change that happened in 1871, and now we're all currently under this birth certificate system, which we've been deceived into accepting as just the way it is. And so the live life claim, or as some people call it, the claim of the life. It brings people out of that birth certificate system, correct?
And it places them into the now space. Russell's jurisdiction.
What is the now space?
The now space is in contract. It's all about contracts. Everything that we do in life is all about contracts. So you're engaged in a contract, no matter if you're shaking hands with somebody or saying hi, waking up in the morning, anything you sign, it's all contract law. So what the now space is you've now contracted to take control of placing your vessel, docking it into the now space, which is patented by Russell J. Gould. It's a jurisdiction that he patented under the Title IV flag. So he's the only one with that patent. He's the only one with the rights to it. And that's just a fact. So in the now space, the way I would say it, the way I could describe it is, first of all, I don't want to give anyone false hope. So I'm not telling you anyone or legal advice. None of that is this.
Okay.
I'm not saying that any of this is going to help you or in any way. I'm not pushing this. But what I'm saying is that what it is, and it's locking you and putting you into the now space, into your own jurisdiction, into Russell's jurisdiction, where the fact, the past and the future jurisdictions of adverb verb scenarios are separate. Now you could still operate in both jurisdictions.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean that you're going into one and that's it, I'm never going back. No, because we still got to have a driver's license to get around town.
Yeah.
But that's part of the process that Russell's done, is how does he show you how to take control of those contracts? That's much more advanced. How do you get control of those contracts so that these government entities don't have jurisdiction over his now space?
Okay, so
Because
he can engage in contracts with other people and not have the government meddling in his business.
Yeah, they don't have jurisdiction over the now space, over his now space. I mean, think about it. If you're stating a fact versus a fiction, if you turn on a light in a dark room, what happens? I mean, it's over, There's no challenge. You can't have dark and light. You can't have fact and fiction. And fact always wins, light always wins. It's just
yeah, that is true.
So it's a flip of a switch, and that's what the now space is. But it's about grammar, and this is really hard to wrap your mind around. I have a chart here on grammar somewhere, but back when I was a kid, maybe you learn in school about grammar. You actually begin to learn about prepositional phrases, and then you kind of like are taught maybe about, yeah, those are real, they exist, but don't learn anything else about them. But prepositional phrases are really what it comes down to, and prepositional phrases are like for the, of the, by the, and they can also be punctuated. Mm-hmm. Punctuated, it represents the for the, and that is the beginning of a prepositional phrase to then state a claim, to make a factual statement. And it ultimately comes down to having the ability to make a claim, to state a claim, and that's really, you're able to make a claim inside the now space, that you now have control of that particular contract. I'm not talking about anyone else or any world or just one contract at a time. That's all it is.
What is a claim?
Well, a claim would be, in this case, this is the ability to state a claim, your claim of the life. It mm-hmm. says to you that you've had the ability to make a claim, which is you can read and write, above a second grade reading level, mm-hmm. how to write in prepositional phrases, how to state a fact, because if you put an adverb, if you don't put a prepositional phrase in front of things, then you're running into an adverb verb scenario. Now, one verb followed by another verb followed by another verb. It's like, what are these just constant action words? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no fact in the sentence, but that's how it's always been for the last 6,000 years, Gavin. I mean, it has. I mean, that's all we know. So that's why we're still operating in that world. I mean, everything I do is in that world. Like, that's how we operate.
Right.
So I'm not saying that everything changes overnight, but the fact that I believe is happening is that at some point, well, Kim Clement said that you showed me, is that a guy named Gould was going to come and just shine a book up or a piece of paper and somehow take the system down. How would that even happen? Not possible. But it all clicked in my head because I understand the mechanics of it. And if we're stating if we have factual claims, factual statements, and the other side has fiction, it overrides that. But Russell has to have the numbers. He has to have the people behind him to bring him forward. Mm-hmm. There's only 1/10 of 1%. That's not enough people with knowledge yet.
Right.
They're not there until they got so. But it's there. He's established it. It's all done. It was done 25 years ago. So it's nothing new. But we're slowly starting to learn about it. And I believe that it would completely upset the system, and it could be integrating. It's also, people talk about the quantum financial system. Mm-hmm. I believe that's just another thievery of Russell's ideas. Quantum cryptocurrency. He started that in 2001.
Right.
And the Bitcoin and all that came out in 2008. I'm not saying those things are bad. I'm all about that stuff. That's great. But it comes from what he created. He's the architect of those concepts and those contracts, but he gave a lot of those things out freely, and they got into other people's hands. And
isn't that how it always goes?
Now he's a lot more protective of things.
Okay. So what do you think? Should people get a claim of the life or not? Or does it depend on their situation?
I think it's, I wanted to get it because I wanted to, I mean, if nothing else, I could actually, I looked at it this way. If nothing else, if it's, then I at least got the autograph of the commander in chief. That's a real autograph.
Right.
You know, that's got to be worth something someday, you know?
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
might be
if
right
nothing
about
else,
that.
I got his autograph right there too. So that
Oh,
was kind of
cool.
cool. And I showed my buddy, people who know that, it's like, wow, let me see. They really, people who understand what, like the dynamics of it, like that's valuable. That's really valuable. So there can't be that many people. And at some point, he's not going to do that. He'll have a staff or someone else. It doesn't have to be him signing off, but you know, he kind of has to, it has to be under, make sure that it's under his copyrights, you know, and it's correct.
Got
So
you.
I once he released that, it was at for the claim of the life, I think.com. Was one of the first, I think I was the first guy to do it. I think I paid $120 or something. It was tricky, and I go through all these steps and they verify you're a real person, all these back and forth. But after all the back and forth, I got it. And now I can establish new contracts. He's going into a new, like, he's teaching about how to take control of your other contracts, like your birth certificate, your passport. Now I did do that with my passport. I will say that that's been pretty powerful. I went and, but I did it wrong, and it still was powerful. When I first did the life claim, I was like, you know, I got to get free. I'm getting sued. I didn't know what to do in the court when I was getting sued. So I wanted to try everything. I went in there, I started losing. I'm like, let me try this and get the passport. I'll put this thing on my passport, try to change my status. That might work. It seemed to work because, you know, when I came in, it was hard to get it done. But when I finally got my passport back after them resisting 3 times, it changed something on my status. I've noticed it where I had an encounter with a police officer, and I knew about what happened because I'd shown up at a government building here, probably 6 months ago, maybe. I walked up to the building after hours and the doors open. I'm like, what? I wish I had proof of that, but it's like, I can only tell you what, well, it was a government building here in Sacramento. I walked up after hours. They were closed, but the cameras were there. It was a federal government building. I looked up and the security door opened. It was just like, I spooked off and left, you know. I was like, I should have went in. But that was like the first time. And then I was like, this is bizarre. What's going on? So then I was like, there's something here. So I had to run in with the cops. They were like trying to diffuse the situation. I was like, they wanted to get my name and contract, and I wasn't driving. I don't have any reason to give you anything. It's like, officer, will you leave me alone if I let you do a background check on me? Because I kind of wanted someone to do a background check anyways. I was like, will you please?
Just test this thing
out.
I
was like, will you please, if I comes back, will you leave it? He's like, absolutely. I was like, he takes my passport. 15 minutes later, he sends his buddy back. He's like, how do I, and this is a serious question. He's like, how do I get one of these? I'm like, a passport? He's like, no, you got a special some sort of. He's like, there's a pat. This is not a. I was like, really? What happened? I don't know what else happened. I don't know what he saw.
Right.
So there definitely changed. Something got changed.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
That was just on more of an accidental. Like I had done that prior. Like I didn't have any Russell's help. Russell hadn't even surfaced yet when I was just experimenting and doing that. But now I think it looks like he's going to be showing people on how to take control of their contracts and an advanced training. So I want to be a part of the cutting edge and a part of being correct. I want to be correct. I'm not correct. I speak about, well, I don't know all the facts and how it all works yet. I can't speak in quantum. And normally you won't be speaking in a quantum statement. It's just about your contracts.
Right.
You have to change the way you speak, but establishing contracts as we're going into a new dimension. If the whole world changes this month in March or April, we go into a new paradigm. We go back to the de jure government, and the corporate fiction United States is actually gone. Like, you know, and people actually are admitted that, like it is, then something's going to come forward. We may just have the de jure government. I don't know. Maybe we'll be going into Russell's system. We don't know. It's all this stuff's happening so fast. It could be 100 years from now too. Is it a risk? Yeah, anything like that is a risk. So I took a little bit of a risk in doing that because it may never happen.
Right. I get it. But do you see any, when you say it's a risk, I mean, you say it costs to do like $120 or something like that. If it doesn't happen, how is that going to, I mean, how much of a risk is it really? Like,
For
what are the,
me, none.
that's what I was
I
thinking.
only see reward for me, but I just, other people may have a different detachment. I don't care about what somebody or like a friend or a loved one thinks about me. They think I'm insane because I'm a risk taker.
Hmm.
I laugh about that. That's okay. I mean, not everybody's willing to live on the risk and take investments and do things that are really cutting edge and bizarre. That's what it takes, though, sometimes. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've lost a lot too and been humiliated and, lost everything. I mean, so I choose not to be comfortable.
I hear that. I mean, that's how successful people are made. You got to take risks. And definitely there's sometimes you get rewarded and sometimes it will really knock you down. I've seen both of those. I don't take a whole lot of financial risks, but I do some spiritually risky things in terms of fighting against the powers that be out there. And
One thing that it does that I believe it will do for people who are not on the level of completely educating themselves. Like I had to immerse myself in education law
mhm,
because I had to either learn fast or lose. I was in that position.
right.
Uh, and I ended up losing. So at the end of the day, all right, I did lose, but it excelled me to where I'm at now. And but what other people I think would benefit from it, what I do believe that Russell's coming forward is the control that the powers that be are trying to put on people, saying if you don't take this shot, we're gonna do something. If you don't do something, we're gonna take something away. Well, they lose it takes them out of that jurisdiction. Like if they're going to look around and see all these people, they can't get the people in the now space. They can't harm those people because they don't have jurisdiction over them in law.
Mhm.
So, and it appears in the future to be a safe place for those who want to resonate in the now space and want to just be in that space and be peacefully left alone to do their thing and not be bothered. That's what it appears like it could be.
Right. Do you So that's what it appears like it could be. Can you foresee any kind of situation in that and operating in that now space where someone could come to the top of it and take advantage of it and actually flip it upside down to where people aren't free anymore, um, and we've been back in the same situation again?
Well, that's a good question. The way I would Okay, so the way I would how could I explain this? Do you know anything about cryptocurrency or Bitcoin? How
I'm just now getting into it, man,
it's a
because
so what the way that I'll kind of compare it to that. When you're having a system based on trust and public accountability,
mhm,
like cryptocurrency is a ledger based system based on proof of work. For example, Bitcoin, it's going to be proving the work. So when you have a transaction going from point A to point B, the miners, they have to mine that transaction to make sure that it's legitimate and it's not phony or that it's not been already spent.
mhm,
Like that's real money. That's a real transaction. I validated. Yep. They have all this validation process to make sure that it hadn't already been spent before. Then it gets logged in on the blockchain for the whole world to see. That transaction's public. It's there. It's done. Now, right now, we're not in that system because there's a lot of, we have some accountability, but there's also a lot of trillions of dollars that went missing in 2001, right before 9/11. What happened to that money? It's like, a lot of things do go missing. So,
yeah, it's amazing how people just look the other way up. $2.3 trillion, I think.
I like some accountability. So
How do you lose
the yeah,
$2.3 trillion, man?
that's a lot of money, right? You lost
I
that.
don't even lose $2.3. I know where all my money's at. They're losing 2.3 trillion.
Yeah, glad you know
And
about that. So it takes accountability, and I believe that's what it is the quantum system. A lot of people are talking about the quantum system. That's just a copy of the real system. It's not part of that yet. the actual system, but it creates it's creating a system where it makes everything accountable, and it makes each contract say the same thing frontwards and backwards mathematically. So when we're communicating
Oh,
with
so it's
higher
like a
life,
palindrome.
what's that?
So the last few months I've been doing I've been noticing palindromes. I've done some video on palindromes, which a palindrome is a word or a number that is the same thing forward as it is backwards. Like mom is MOM, same thing forward or backwards, or like the word I, or like 1221 is the same thing forward and backwards. So what you're saying is like this quantum grammar, the whole sentence is the same thing forward as it is backwards?
Let me tell Tom I'm going to call him right back. I'm sorry. Hey, Tom, I'm on a call. I got to call you right back. I promise I will. Oh, I'm here now if you want to come by my office. Okay. Is that the house, right? What's that? Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, the way it's David Miller was the architect of that, and he's the one that cracked the code on it back in 1983. It was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually was able, this brainiac guy, just beyond brilliantly weird, crazy, way ahead of his time. And he was able to crack the code on creating the mathematical system around the words by reading. He read this old manuscript about the Freemasons that's at extremely high level from thousands of years ago. It's like this book about this big. What's his name wrote? Anyways, he had just incredible read. He read at speeds that are incomprehensible. So he was able to then create this sentence structure, and to where the things would say the same thing backwards and frontwards, and it would mathematically wind together. And why that's important is because in this digital age, in this age of higher dimensions, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, maybe there's we don't even know, there's so many dimensions. Well, we all have to communicate through contracts as we're going into the future, because we are evolving. 100 years ago, we didn't even have planes, trains, and automobiles barely. So now what's next? I mean, what's next? Time travel? I don't know. I mean, it's like there's so many possibilities of what's coming. That we want to have a way to communicate with all forms that are honest, accountable, and the contracts are impenetrable. Because right now, when a contract is written, lawyers get in there and they go back and forth on the words. It's called litigation. Oh, that word means this sentence means that. But all these lawyers, they really won't need a job on that in the quantum, in the now space. I mean, maybe to represent, but not to interpret the contracts, because their contracts just mean what they say, and they say what they mean. They're final.
Right. That makes sense to me. Because then you can't find loopholes. You can't, twist words into meaning what you want them to mean. And it just seems like the way we write contracts in this birth certificate system, it's just confusing. It just leaves too much room open for, private interpretation to twist it in your favor. And it seems like in that system, the people with the most money, they come out the winners because they have more resources to get someone to make it work out the way they want it to work out. And it has nothing to do with right or wrong or truth or fiction. It has everything to do with, how do I get what I want, whether it's right or wrong. So that part of that aspect of the quantum grammar makes a lot of sense to me. I remember when Russell first told me about it, like, yeah, that actually makes sense. Words should mean what they mean. And otherwise, if you're, on a contract, if a word can mean 100 different things and you have 1,000 of those words in a contract, what does this thing even mean? It means nothing, and the contract is just a piece of garbage.
Yeah, it definitely is, and a lot of things that we write now, illegal documents. These legal documents. At the end of the day, it's just this factual statement because I never stated a fact. I just all these adverb verbs. I get it. I mean, it's hard to wrap your mind around. I mean, and it really, this document's not going to work for me to go to court and file a lawsuit right now and try to get involved in this, because our courts aren't set to contract like that with others.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this whole new paradigm, right? So it's like this entire new dimension. I still have to operate in all the existing fiction world system. But one thing that I did get authorization of, once I got the life claim from Russell, it allowed me to start writing my name in a autographing my name,
Mm-hmm.
in a like that, where it says dash middle name last name period. That becomes a factual statement above the all capital name, which is the birth certificate name. So
Right.
now that the correct name, a fact, or my name is a fact, because let me ask you this: are you a fact, Wiley?
Whitley.
Are you a fact or are you a verb?
I would like to say I'm a fact.
I'd say so. You're
I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure you're a fact.
Yeah.
Are you there or am I?
I'm pretty sure I'm here.
You're there. Okay, you're there. You're a fact. You are here right now.
Right.
All right. Well, then why don't we start writing our names as a fact?
So how does the colon, hyphen, all that stuff, why does that make your name a fact rather than just writing the letters?
Because the colons in punctuation terms, if you go and study the punctuation diagrams, colon means for the.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's just saying for the,
okay.
abbreviated.
So colon means for the.
Yep.
All right. So when you get
The prepositional phrase.
if you get colon cancer, it means for the cancer.
For the cancer. It's an abbreviation. It's a prepositional phrase to then allow to basically state a claim, to state a fact.
So I like to argue, and that's usually how I find truth. Is a lot of times that's how I find truth, is arguing against something until all my questions have been answered, or my argument, which is not necessarily the position I'm taking. I'm just taking a side of the argument to find the truth. Until my argument is proven illogical, I will argue against something. So I'm gonna do a little bit of that here. You say that colon means for the, and my question is, says who?
It's I think it's the International Styles Manual.
Okay.
Yeah.
So some people said that that's what it means.
Some rich people got together and said that one day. Yep.
Gotcha. So what makes them right?
Well, it's the idea of like it doesn't make them right.
Okay. So what you're saying is this quantum grammar thing is, it's not necessarily right or wrong, but it is a system of writing contracts that we can all agree on, that this means this and this means this, and when we write a contract out, this, because of these rules that we have established, this is what the contract means, and it can't mean anything else.
There's no interpretation or changing that contract from meaning one thing or another thing, of a lawyer going in and saying, wait a second, I see something else in this contract because you didn't state a fact here.
Right.
You stated just a adverb verb here. The sentence wasn't right. And then the contract gets interpreted by a court or a judge, and the jury comes out, and then you were wrong about that contract. This is just a mathematically, it takes the argument aside of contracts, and it makes it into a mathematically impenetrable factual statement.
And that's what David Wynn-Miller did. He created this quantum grammar method of writing contracts to where it couldn't be twisted. And that makes sense. Okay, so it's not necessarily a term of, you would actually have to agree to that system of writing before you sign the contract. And then by agreeing to these rules of the quantum grammar, I'm having a hard time explaining what my understanding of it, because it is kind of confusing, but it makes sense. So you have to agree to the quantum grammar system that it is agreeably correct between two parties. And then you write the contract, and then you have to abide by the rules of the quantum grammar system and also what the contract states. And that's how you form an agreement. And that agreement means what it means, and it can't mean anything else.
Yeah,
Does that kind of make sense?
that's a pretty good simple interpretation of it. And
Okay.
it means what it says, and it says what it means. It's final, it's locked in. But that's an advanced way about going. That's kind of a more of an advanced thinking, because I don't know of anybody that is contracting in that right now. At this point, we're just trying to get out of that old system from the fiction. And where a lot of people out there, they just want some peace. They just want to be left alone. And I'm like that too sometimes. I don't want to be sued all the time and getting thrown in jail or anything like that, because I didn't have my seatbelt on. I mean, these are simple little dumb things, but they only have jurisdiction over that fiction. So they don't have the fiction.
If you're riding down the road and you have a claim of the life and a cop tries to, take you to jail for not wearing a seatbelt, can he take you to, does he have the right to do that if you are in the now space? Because from my understanding of it, like your all caps name is really the name of the account that was created the day that you were born through your birth certificate. It's not an actual human being. So when he pulls you over and you give your license and it has your all caps name on it, that's actually the name of that birth certificate account. And so if you have a claim of the life and you're kind of operating in both jurisdictions, do they really have the right to put you in jail? I mean, because essentially if they're putting the guy in jail whose name is on the driver's license, they really should be slapping handcuffs on the birth certificate.
Well, that's a really good, it's an interesting analogy. Do they have the right to put you in jail? Well, have you ever thought about this? Did you give them consent to go to jail, or did they take you to jail? I mean, and I'm talking about a victimless crime.
Right.
Now, if you harmed a victim out there, that's different. That's common law crimes.
Gotcha.
Those are dealt with differently. I'm talking about victimless crime. Did you, not you, but did the person consent? Well, what would give them consent?
Why don't you answer that question?
Do you want me to answer it?
No, yeah, I want you to answer it.
Well, is this you right here? You got your driver's license with the all cap name, right?
Right.
This all capital letter name, is this you? Yeah, that's me. Right this way. You're coming to jail.
Oh, so you assume that identity.
That's you. You're that dead fiction right there. Come this way. Step right up.
So what if I go, well, this isn't me. This is just the driver's license that I have to use to operate in this jurisdiction. And then the cop's going to look at you like,
well, who are you then?
Yeah. And then what do you say?
I would give my passport, because I've already done mine with the passport in the Department of State. So my life claim is already in my passport. So I'm like, go check me out. It's already registered.
And is this what happened to you, what you were explaining earlier?
This is what happened to me when I was explaining earlier.
And you weren't driving. You were just walking. What were you doing?
I was outside. Yeah, I was out, and they were checking. I was out. I don't want to get the whole thing, but ultimately, I had an encounter with the police. Didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
But can I go and be left alone, basically, if I let you do a background check on me? And because they were not leaving us alone, and I was like, sure, finally, just do that. As soon as he did that, 15 minutes later, he came back and asked me how he gets one of these things.
That's
What did you
interesting.
see? He didn't tell me what he saw. He wouldn't tell me.
Hmm.
But
So I wonder
it
how that
did.
would work out if you got pulled over for something, like let's say speeding, which is a victimless crime, and you want to give him your passport instead of your driver's license. I wonder what would happen.
Well, in my experience, when I went to that government building and the doors opened after hours, I thought, there's something in their computers. It appears that something's changed in the jurisdiction. And it's all about jurisdiction. They've got jurisdiction over that name that they've created, that all capital name, like you said, that they have jurisdiction over that.
Right.
And that's
Especially,
okay. That's a blessing.
yeah.
That is a blessing. And I'm grateful God for that thing. So don't ever think it's not. And if you want to get rid of it, good luck on contracting with everybody else,
Right.
because they're not in that new system yet. But it's about when I'm being harassed or taken like this because I just want to be left alone. It seems to have power of them seeing that I didn't give them a fiction document of my, like, oh, my a picture of me with the all capital name, whatever. It does have the all capital name on my passport, but there's something in the computer that's changed on their end. That's where
so
this
interesting.
claim, I put that in there.
Huh.
So that seems to be for me easy. I mean, I can't say in easy terms how to do that. I just experimented with that, and it seemed to work. I was just my own thing. I've never done that for anybody. And I'm not trying to make a claim, oh, this is the way to go. But it appears that Russell is evolving and going to be teaching that. And Russell's not endorsing anything I'm saying right here. So don't say that, oh, this is, Russell and I, we never met. He's at a really high level. I'm operating my life, but I just admire what he's done and I applaud it. I'm a fan of his, and I've been studying his work, and all checks out to be correct. The sentence structure appears to be correct. It's not the sentences are not a scam. I mean, because it's mathematically checking out.
Mm-hmm.
The contracts, it's not a people who understand English grammar, they can't say that it's a lie because they look at it. No, this is.
And it's not. It's not actually English. It's quantum grammar.
Yes, that's what they. Well, I think that's what David Wynn patented it as. It's got so many patents, and I believe I believe it's actually correct sentence structure, communication, syntax, parse grammar. I think that's what it's logged in at. And what it is it's the jurisdiction of the flag, the Title IV flag. See that flag?
Right.
That's our flag. But that's the same flag that we see outside of Republic. It's not the same flag. This Title IV flag measures, that's the correct sentence structure, communications, parse, syntax, grammar flag that's logged in with the UN that has the jurisdiction over one place and one place only. It's the most interesting story. When they actually got that patent and they went to the UN to get logged in, they said, what country are you claiming? Everything's taken. And they were so smart and so brilliant, big and advanced. Like, we're claiming the courtroom floor at the time of contracts. And like, well, that's your jurisdiction? That's it. The courtroom floor at the time of contracts. That's their now space.
These guys are genius psychos. And I say that endearingly. That's a term of endearment.
Doesn't mean that other people can't contract in that courtroom for other reasons. That's their contract. It's okay. But when they came in and he wanted to do a contract, that's when he had jurisdiction to go in and, and the judges were, Russell, they wanted that flag back. They wanted that flag back. So they put him in jail for so long and they starved him out for 70 days. They wanted that back because they knew that if he survived, it could technically be it could pull the rug out from that system.
It's so fascinating that these guys figured this out and actually tried to do it and did everything that they did. I mean, no, who does that? It just blows my mind because the average person is just figuring out where we're going to go eat tonight. These guys are over there figuring out, hey, let's make a language that nobody can manipulate, and then go capture the flag over at the UN. And then after they do all that, they're like, okay, what do you want to eat tonight?
The government calls him a walking historical monument, So that's why, like, he's a historical monument in their shrine, in their archives over there. So, but he's still alive. So it's like, that's why I was like, I gotta get
Fascinating.
this guy's autograph. You know, he's actually a historical monument figure, because 1,000 years from now, or maybe this, we don't know, but at some point people will find out and they will be taught about that, you know?
Yeah, it's such a fascinating story. So when he talks about having one foot on the land and one foot on the sea, does that mean like one foot on on the sea is like the birth certificate system, and one foot on the land is the Title IV flag system?
Well, that's a really good question. All right, so coming from a non-lawyer, a self-educated man who I never went and did law school, I never went to the bar and anything like that, but I taught myself law,
Uh-huh.
like at a high level, man. And coming from that, these courts and our systems in California, they are designed as a statutory scheme. It's a statutory scheme, and it's a blessing, and it's great. And when you figure out how to use it, it works. It's amazing. It's brilliant the way it is. Okay, but it's not common law. It's not land. It's not man on the land. It's not that. It's a statutory scheme. What jurisdiction is it? I don't know. It might be admiralty. I don't know. It's just a statutory scheme. It's statutes.
Yeah.
So it might. When I first started studying law, I had the idea or the theory that, oh, common law, and then they got us in this admiralty law, shipping. I heard that. I went in, of course, tried it in court, and I, judge slapped the gavel, man, and I ran out humiliated, and I, was a fool. But I kept doing that again and again until I got humiliated enough times. So I was like, okay, obviously that old admiralty stuff, maybe it's true. Maybe we are out there in admiralty law in the courts. Maybe that's true, but the courts don't care about that. They're just going to slam the gavel down if you
Right.
talk about that. But if I start working in their statutory scheme, they understand that I can actually make something happen. So I think when you asked that two questions about land and the sea, yeah, it appears that the land would be like the now space, that
Hmm.
jurisdiction that's dormant, the de jure dormant system, or the new now space system. And then that sea is where they've got the international contracts of admiralty and then maritime being at the ports. So, and that's how it appears that a lot of our courts are set up. They do operate in that, but they operate in the statutory scheme. It's not corrupt. People say it's corrupt. No, it's not. They have a complex system. That's why you need a very high level lawyer to figure it out. They make it. Those attorneys pay $300,000 to learn that stuff in law school. It's not easy, but they have a system that does work if you know how
Yeah,
to use it.
it works, but it
So
ain't exactly fair.
it's not fair, right? Exactly.
It ain't fair because
It's not
I
fair.
can't go in there and win a case
No,
tomorrow.
no,
I'll
and
get my ass handed to me.
that's what I think is important, and what Russell has done in establishing this is because the regular common law guy that he's a Bible believer, he's a Christian, he believes in that common law, the spiritual law. Well, that's how does he get any justice?
Right.
How does that guy get anywhere? He doesn't, but he really doesn't. It's like the courts don't pay attention to that, even though they should. They just don't. But this appears to be the new direction that will give those types of people freedom. At least that was my experience. It was that's I've kind of been challenging to see if I do. They have not said anything to me.
All right. Well, hey man, it was awesome talking to you. I think this is about the point where my brain says I've had enough.
Brain's like,
yeah.
enough's enough.
Every time I get into this stuff, like I learn so much, and so much becomes, more clear to me. But at the same time, I have so many other questions and also confusion. But I guess that's just that's my experience in life. The more I learn, the more I don't know. And I guess this is no different. But Gavin, man, thank you so much for joining us today on this show. Hopefully we can do it again. I think I'll probably watch this one myself. I usually don't watch the videos after I post them, but I might have to watch this one a couple more times to grasp it, what you were saying.
Really? Was it? Well, thank you, Whitley. It's just fascinating to meet you. I love what you do. I support your channel and really getting a good message out there at a high level of people, elevating people and to love Christ and love Jesus, because at the
That's
end
what
of the
it's
day,
all about, man.
it's all about Jesus. We got to have, I have that open mind and never, what we reject what we don't understand, because it's like, I don't know what I don't know. And
Uh-huh.
is Jesus real? Well, I believe it's like, I don't know what I don't know. So I'm going to accept that love. I'm not going to deny it and say, oh,
Right.
I know better. So that's about it. Unforgiveness. And thank you for teaching me about forgiveness.
Hey,
And I will continue to use that.
I didn't do anything. It was all God, man. I just let him use me. So to him be all the glory. If anybody out there, if you're interested in forgiveness and you want to unlock the possibilities that God has for your life and get that full connection to him and have him blow your mind every day, my contact information is in the description box below. Let's set up a time. Let's get on the phone and let's figure it out. I'm here to help you guys. And trust me, it works. And here's Gavin right here. He tells you he is a witness that this works. It's amazing. It will change your life. Gavin, thanks again. You guys make sure you go check out his YouTube channel. And we will see you guys next time. God bless you guys. Take care.